Do you want to start a business, get out of the office, achieve happiness and success while crushing life? This is Boss to Boss, the place to be for that extra motivation to get up and follow your dreams while learning from the ones who have already done it. And now for your host, Miro Wieslow.
Welcome to Boss to Boss. Today's guest, 14 years ago, while working at a bar as a barback, washing dishes, cleaning bathrooms, and wiping up puke, he decided in his own apartment to start up a business. And this business grew into a multi-million-dollar business with over 200 employees. He later, in 2017, sold that business for over 7 figures. This gave him and his wife the ability to move from Houston to LA to chase his childhood dreams of becoming a comedian, actor, producer, and serial entrepreneur. Currently, he owns 2 businesses, Project Punchline and Sellable, and is producing a feature film. And him and his wife, Denah, they're expecting their first baby girl this month. Congratulations, Tommy Berretz, and thanks for being on the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, brother. How are you?
I'm good. So tell me, you're producing a movie, right?
Yep.
How is that? Like that, is that something you've seen yourself doing any 15 years ago when you were working at a bar?
Dude, no, because that's one of those things that people tell you that is impossible to do, so 15 years ago, that wasn't even a glimmer in my mind to be able to be producing a feature film. So, but as you get older, you realize, you're in control of your own life. And I went to the New York Film Academy in 2014 and realized that that's an actual attainable goal. And so I started pursuing that goal back in 2014. And here we are today working with screenwriters, getting this feature film written. And then once they get it finished, we're going to get on to the actual production phase of the film. So it should be pretty awesome.
That is awesome. I'm curious to hear more, and hopefully do like a live stream like you do with your comedy shows. That'd be pretty cool, all right?
Yeah.
But for everybody else tuning in, everybody watching, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, or on one of the podcast venues, be sure to check out projectpunchline.com, where you can check out Tommy and the team, or at Tommy Berretz, which is on Instagram, Twitter.
All my handles are Tommy Berretz, because I'm lucky enough to have a unique last name to where I don't have to be like Tommy Berretz kitty lick 745 or whatever. You know what I mean?
That would be pretty good too, but your last name is pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sure that had something to do with your wife, wanting to be with you, right?
Yeah. When we got married, we said our vows, and I told her, I said, congratulations. I was like, you finally made it. You're a Berretz.
Like, that is pretty badass. Like, it's, you're Berretz. Like, come on. Does it get more badass than that? I love it. So yeah, everybody, that's projectpunchline.com, facebook.com/Project Punchline, where you can follow along, see more of who Tommy is and what he does while we're going deep into some big things here on the show. So when did you hit that point of working, at a bar, or just in general working, that you were like, enough's enough? I'm going for it. This is it.
Man, so yeah, obviously working at a bar, that's not, and nothing against working at a bar, but I obviously felt like I wasn't living to my full potential, and I knew it, and I was just kind of like moving day by day, not really challenging myself. And I think that's where a lot of people get miserable when they're working for somebody else, because they're not fully challenging themselves to their full potential. So they don't like their job, and they don't understand why. And so I was at that point, obviously, because I'm, standing behind a bar, and I'm, bartenders are telling me I need this, I need that. And I'm cleaning dishes. I'm freaking mopping up puke. I'm cleaning bathrooms. When a bar closes in Houston at 2 a.m., well, you're there till almost 4 a.m. cleaning up the place and getting it ready for the next day. And so I just, I hit my threshold, and I was like, man, I cannot continue to do this. And I actually read a book by Jack Canfield called The Success Principles. Classic. And that's kind of what pushed me over the edge to really want to start my own business.
Did you know what you were going to do next? I mean, because it's nothing to do with what you're doing now.
Right. So, yes, actually, I did know what I was going to do. And the reason why I did know what I was going to do is because I had worked in that industry before. Okay. The company I owned was a swimming pool company where we staffed lifeguards. We did, it was, all commercial swimming pools. We did construction work. We actually built swimming pools. We did all that stuff. But I had worked for other companies previously, so I knew how to do it. And so I was like, I took my skill set at the time and I was like, that wasn't my dream job, but it was like, I know how to do this and I can do it. So this is what I'm going to jump into first, so I can actually get my feet wet and understand what it's like to be an entrepreneur.
And so based on the timeline, it sounds like it took you about 12 or so, 10 to 12 years, right? To get that business really off the ground. Yeah.
Well, it's like, it actually like snowballed pretty fast in the beginning. I started off and I think the first year I had, 5 clients, and then every year we doubled our business for, I think, the first 3 or 4 years. And then, at some point I became miserable with what I was doing. And the intention all along from inception of the business was to sell it. Like, I started that business with the ideology, all right, I'm going to build this company. I'm going to sell it down the road. It just didn't happen as quick as I thought it was going to happen. I thought I was going to build this company and sell it in like 3 years. And then when I got into the weeds of it, I realized that wasn't feasible.
So I guess that's a very important topic, and it's something I've talked about in the past, and something that's probably hot right now, because you're supposed to go all in on something you love, right? Your passion, but you managed to find something you were good at, probably had a lot of connections in, and you ended up selling it. Would you advise going against that route, or would you still go that route if you had the opportunity to, obviously got you to where you're at?
I would still go that route. And don't get me wrong, like, starting my own business, I was passionate about owning my own business, and I still am passionate about owning businesses. You know what I mean? Granted, that wasn't a dream job. That wasn't doing stand-up comedy. That wasn't being an actor. That wasn't being a producer. But when I started that company, I also didn't think that those were attainable goals of doing those things. And so, yes, I wouldn't change anything. I would go back. And here's why. Is because I jumped into something that I knew how to do. So there was a little bit of confidence there. And it gave me the ability to learn so much about business. Like, man, I got a PhD in business from running that company, because I learned how to implement systems, implement people, and I learned how to sell our products and services. So what I learned along that timeline was priceless. So I would absolutely go back and do that. Like, I learned in the beginning, I hated accounting. I was like, I hated it because I was afraid of it. And I didn't understand it. And so I kind of pushed it off to the side. But now someone could hire me as their CFO because I understand it so thoroughly. So if I could go back, I would definitely go that route again, just because of the education I attained by doing that.
Could you think you could have sold it sooner, or would you have settled on a lot less and it just wasn't worth it?
Absolutely. I could have sold it sooner. Because just like when you start a business, you hear there's never a right time. When you talk to people, I want to start my business. Well, what's holding you back? Well, it's just not the right time. Well, the same thing goes for selling a business, because you feel like when you're starting a business, everything has to be perfect and everything has to align. Well, that's never going to happen. Same thing with selling a business. You think you have to have everything completely aligned and in place and perfect for someone to want to sell it, but that's not completely true either. You just need to start getting the right people in place, the right systems in place for you to be able to get out of the business, to be able to sell it. And so, to answer your question, yes, I could have sold it before I did, but I also didn't have the appropriate mindset, because it wasn't until I think about 2014 to where it was really like, okay, I really need to push forward and see what I can do to get this thing to a sellable point.
What were the final steps? I mean, this is very key, and a lot of people go through this, and I feel like I haven't really dove into this as much with other people that just haven't been, fortunate enough maybe to be in this position, or just kind of stayed with one thing. Did you need to bring in somebody else? Because obviously you probably played a huge role. You were the CEO, right? You everything ran through you. Did you bring in another CEO, or did the new business that bought it out bring in their own CEO, their own people, or did you have to have it all in place prior to you leaving?
So the way it worked is like I'm a firm believer in coaching, right? So I've hired a lot of coaches along the way. I've been a part of a lot of different masterminds. I'm part of Connect, which is Thrive's mastermind.
Yeah.
And so I'm a firm believer in getting coaches, reading books, basically studying the people that are where you want to be and implementing the stuff that they've implemented. I mean, there's a lot of cheat sheets out there. There's a lot of different mentors, and so one of the biggest things that we did is we hired coaches, and they would walk us through different processes, and they would find holes in our game. If you look at any athlete, any actor, any successful business person, they've all had coaches along the way. They've all had mentors along the way that helped them get to where they are today. And so that's what we did. And so I realized real quick, there are really 3 to 4 key components into selling a business that matter. Any business is sellable if you can do these 3 to 4 things. The first thing is you have to be profitable. You actually have to make money. Mm-hmm. Number 2, you have to have some sort of recurring revenue stream coming to that company. And number 3 is how much time you spend in the business. So if you're doing all the sales, you'll find it difficult to sell a business. So if you are like the last 2 years of the business, I really didn't work in the business. I could go away for 6 months and come back, and the business was running, still growing, still making money. So I had salespeople, I had individuals actually running the business. And so that's an important factor. And the fourth factor is what's your market share. If you have a business that has 99% of the market share, you're going to have a real hard time selling that business because there's not a lot of growth potential with whoever is going to buy it. But if you have 10 or 20% of the market share, that's attractive to somebody because they're like, wow, there's 80% of the market share that's still out there that we can capture. So those are like the 4 main things that somebody's going to look at when they want to buy your business. And I'm talking about a service-based business because that's what mine was a service-based business. So if you can build those components into where you have people who are actually running your business for you, dude, you're golden. Like that, like obviously the first 3 are key. Do you make money? Is there a recurring revenue business model placed in the business? And are you completely like obsolete from the business? And if you can do those things, you have yourself a sellable business.
Those are some great points. I know the listeners will find that very, very useful and helpful. And by being able to step out of the business, so you practically had someone running like your role, right? Like
yes.
Were they technically a CEO or were they like more operations?
So I had a general manager who ran it. So there was like different department heads, right? So a general manager ran all the operations. The vice president, who was also an owner, he kind of oversaw a lot of that stuff. But his role was like pretty much diminished too. He didn't really do a whole lot either. And then obviously we had a CFO that took care of our finances. And so what I would do strategics. Like I would come in and I would look at like our sales funnels and see where we needed to be, and I'd give some direction. And then our CFO would tell me where we are financially and what we need to produce and all that stuff. And so that was a very important role. And then obviously I had the sales team that would do all the sales and stuff. And, when I would sit down with like acquisitions firms, they would ask me, so like, how many sales do you do a year? I'm like, 0. Like the customers don't even know I exist. They know there's a CEO, but they don't know who I am. And so once you start placing people in department heads into where you can give them direction and you can empower them to do their job, and you hire people that are smarter than you, then you have a business that can run on its own. It always makes me laugh when I watch entrepreneurs hire certain people, but they always hire someone that they have to train. And I'm like, that makes no sense. The idea is to hire someone who's smarter than you, who tells you what they need, not the other way around. Like if I'm going to hire a CFO, I want the CFO to understand accounting way better than I understand accounting. And I want them to tell me, no, you can't go buy that because we have this coming up and here's our budget and it's not within the budget. So my CFO is telling me, I'm the CEO, and she's telling me you can't buy that. I'm like, okay. And I'm listening to her. Okay, cool. Well, explain to me why I can't buy this. Yeah. Well, here's why. So that's an important factor.
Wow. Okay. So that's a great way to looking at it. Definitely, it's definitely something I've always, been a big proponent of. And reading that book, I'm sure you probably stumbled upon it, right? Built to Sell.
So yeah, read it.
Yeah, right.
Read it.
So
Great book.
definitely a couple cross points from that book as well, which is a book I definitely highly recommend. But now enough of that. More of now with Project Punchline and Sellable. Like, how do you feel that now? You're probably not earning as much. I would take it, right? Probably not yet.
Right. That's true.
But it's at the point where you're more maybe mentally satisfied. You're more going to work with a smile every day, right?
Yeah,
Or
well, I'm
work,
definitely more
call it-
fulfilled. I'm more fulfilled, and it's like, when you have your 9 to 5,
Yeah.
you get to a point to where you're miserable, and you're like, I need to get out of here. I need to figure out what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But then the same thing can happen when you're an entrepreneur. You start a business, you're super passionate, and then 10 years down the road, you're like, dude, I climbed the wrong mountain. I'm at the top of the wrong mountain. I've been doing the wrong thing. This is not fulfilling me,
Yes.
And so then all of a sudden you realize and take a look at yourself. You're like, dude, I'm miserable doing this. And that's not a bad thing. That means you're growing.
Exactly.
You're growing as an individual. You're growing as an entrepreneur. And so I got to that point with my business. I remember walking in my business partner's office, and I remember sitting down and going, man, if somebody told me how to do this for the rest of my life, I'd be miserable. I'd be literally miserable. And that's when I knew something had to change. I realized I can't continue to do the same thing and expect a different result. And so I need to, I wasn't doing my employees any favors. I wasn't doing myself any favors. So I needed someone to take over the business that actually had the intention to grow it to, $100 million company or wherever they saw fit to go.
Exactly.
And so then I'm like, what do I want to do? And I had been doing stand-up comedy because that was a childhood dream. And everybody tells you, you can't be a stand-up comedian. You can't be an actor.
Nope.
You can't be a producer. That's not practical. So you go and do something that you don't want to do. And Jim Carrey said this, you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well take a chance at what you do want. And so that's kind of where I was. I was to the point to where I wanted to really pursue my childhood dreams, and selling my company gave me the ability to kind of do that, to where I didn't have to, jump right back into a company. And so, Project Punchline was born to where it's a platform to where now we're starting to stream our shows.
Yeah.
And it's a platform that we can utilize to where it's not only something that I'm passionate about, and it's absolutely fun to do, but it also is going to give other comedians a platform to get on that maybe aren't as notable, to where they can be seen by a lot more eyeballs out there in the world, and they can actually start to build a name for themselves. And so that's been super fun. And then with Sellable, like, we do 3 main things in Sellable, and they're all things that I really like to do. One, consulting with entrepreneurs on how to build a sellable business, because I was already doing that a little bit here and there. And my wife and I were talking, it's like, why don't we just build a company that actually, does that? I'm like, yeah, that's pretty smart. We should do that. That's the reason why it's called Sellable.
Pretty genius. She's got to be the CEO, right?
Yeah. She's definitely smarter than I am. She brings the heat. So, and then we do content creation for entrepreneurs for social media, which is cool. And we also supply virtual executives, to where if somebody can't afford, to hire a CFO full time, to where we have the ability to step in. That's part of our business model, is to be able to give people high caliber executives that they normally wouldn't be able to hire, to kind of help guide them. So it's more than coaching. Like a coach is kind of giving you some direction. Hiring a virtual executive is going to be someone who actually works in your business with you shoulder to shoulder, and gives you like, hey, you can do this, or you need to do this, or you need to clean your books up this certain way, to where they can give you guidance, to where if you do want to sell your company, the only thing somebody looks at when you want to sell your company is they say, send me your financial statements. I want to see your balance sheet and your P&Ls for the last 3 to 5 years. That's what sells your business. Not like, oh, I've got this great business model. I got this. We're making all this money. Prove it to me. Let me see your financial statements.
And you're saying that people care more about the profits you're actually making, or let's just say, you're expanding and you buy a ton of assets, so naturally naturally some, if there's lower costs, they're going to be expensed. Otherwise they'll be put on the books, but just, your costs are going to be a lot higher. During those points, you're not as profitable.
Yeah, so it depends on it really depends on the buyer. different buyers want different things. Obviously, everybody wants you to be profitable. However, there are certain buyers that will buy a business that they know that is under market value, that maybe the person running it's a moron and they don't know what they're doing. And they look at the business and they're like, man, we could buy this business for pennies on the dollar and we could turn around and like blow it up and make a bunch of money. So it depends on what they're looking at. But if you want a guaranteed sale, you want to be profitable. You want to have that recurring revenue in there. And that's what's going to make it attractive to buyers.
So virtual CFO, that's very interesting. Is the cost of hiring someone like that drastically lower than hiring someone full-time on board?
Yeah, because you're getting them on a time basis. So instead of having to hire a CFO, full time, you're going to pay a pretty penny for that. And so if you hire a virtual CFO, you're only paying, like, say, maybe you only need them for 5 hours a month. Well, that's what you're paying, 5 hours a month. So you're going to pay a fraction of what you would have paid somebody if you hired them full time.
Wow. Okay. So you could literally be paying 5, 10%, 20% of what you would be paying normally. Right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Easily. But, and it's all based on, your needs. Like, what do you need from this individual? And I would definitely recommend, if you're looking to sell a business, you need somebody to comb over your books and make sure they're good. Because when you sit down at that table and someone wants to buy your company, they're going to ask you line by line, what is this? Why is it here? Why did you classify this as cost of goods sold and not an expense? And you as a CEO have to be able to answer that question. And so it's important that, a CFO lays your books out correctly, or an accountant, whoever you want to get, and you can actually read your financial statements, understand what's going on in the business because of the financial statements. And that's, as a CEO, you should be able to it doesn't matter where you are in the world, in Dubai, and your CFO sends you your financial statements, and you should be able to read what's going on in your business currently and make projections from your financial statements.
I love that. We might actually be chatting about that soon.
Cool. Let me know, man.
Yeah. And last part I kind of really wanted to touch on, and I know it's so key, and it's actually one of the reasons I came across you initially, was you developed Project Punchline as not just any type of business, not just a normal business.
Right.
You know where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
What kind of business is it?
It's a for-purpose business. So
I feel like I heard that before.
Yeah, for sure. It's that's what if anybody wants to go to a conference that will change their life, it's Thrive. And that's actually where I learned it from, the for-purpose business model. I didn't even know, like, I knew Tom shoes existed, right? And I'm going to use them as an example because most people have heard of them. And I remember the first time I heard that you buy a pair of shoes and then they give a pair away. And my first reaction was, man, sounds expensive. You know what I mean? But I didn't understand the business model. And so once I learned how the business model is actually produced, I was like, man, I remember telling my business partner, sitting in the crowd, I remember looking at my business partner going, we got to do that. And so the business I sold was a for-purpose business. Every business from now on is a for-purpose business. But Project Punchline was built solely for the giving component. And we modeled it somewhat like Thrive, to where we're giving most of the money away, which is very fulfilling when you're helping people. We did a show not too long ago, and we donated 1,500 bottles of water to the women's shelter in downtown LA. And man, I can't tell you how happy those people were when we pulled up with a truck full of water and we started unloading it. They're like, you guys are so great. And it's like, it's something that if you don't have in your business model, I would definitely suggest putting it in your business model, that giving component. And it's, if every entrepreneur was a for-purpose business, I would think that we would exterminate a lot of the real problems in the world.
Yep. I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs are going to be leading up like smaller to middle size businesses, and those are actually the largest components of the industry, right? Of the economy. So if you add all those up, like if you just think about it, if we all just gave back just that little percent, or whatever it is, what kind of difference that would make right away.
Absolutely.
So, that's awesome. I'm glad, I'm really happy you're doing that. That's something that I know goes a long way. It's something I've been doing with my business, Hodgepodge, and I definitely, it's the small things that you do that really make a difference. They really add up over time, and to see those customers, when they smile and when they get those things, whatever it is. And for example, it goes a long way.
Yeah. So in my other business, and we still do it with Project Punchline too, we gave to one nonprofit called Preservation of Life in Houston, and they feed little kids. One of my friends from high school started that nonprofit.
Oh, wow.
And man, like I remember I saw what he was doing. I was like, man, this is crazy. Like this guy's like really making a difference. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, and it kind of made me feel guilty, you know? And so I called him. I was like, dude, how can I help? Mm-hmm. And it was cool because we started donating to Preservation of Life. And we actually, like I could go to his sites where he's feeding kids. He feeds over 1,500 kids a day. And man, it's just like kind of crazy. You know, you're sitting there, you take it for granted when you walk to your refrigerator and you pull something out to eat it or snack on or whatever. These people are waiting in line to get fed. And they're like age ranges from like 3 to I think like 15, 16 years old. You know, like this is their only meal that they're going to get a day. And it's just incredible what he was doing. So you never know who you're going to impact. And that's why it's so important, and people actually put that giving proponent within their business, and they learn how to build what they call a for benefit or a for purpose business.
That's awesome, and I definitely feel that trend is going to continue, and
yeah.
hopefully it does. Hopefully it keeps going that way, and changes are made.
Yeah.
And let's just say, someone out there, someone like me, sitting back a couple years ago and just hating my life and just staring at the cubicle walls day in, day out, debating if this entrepreneurism thing is for me or if it isn't, because it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy at all. What would you tell someone like me from a couple years ago if they should go for it or not?
If you already have the idea of being an entrepreneur, obviously there's something there. If you have that glimmer in your mind that you want to start something, then you should definitely figure that out. Mm-hmm. You should find what it is you want to do because you have that thought in your mind for a reason. And people, like, being an entrepreneur is pretty selfless because what you don't realize as an entrepreneur is you're providing a lot of opportunity for other people. Like whenever I started my company, I never thought that I would have 200 employees. I thought I was just screwing around in my apartment, and then like when that happens, you're giving people opportunity, you're helping the economy, and in my case, I turned it into a for-purpose business. Now I'm feeding kids. If you would have told me that I was going to be feeding kids from my company when I started it, I would like, that's ridiculous. I don't even know how that would happen, but I would say, you are selfish if you don't go start your own company. And I think that there's never going to be a right time. You're never going to sit down and be like, today's the day, I've got what I need. It's all a learning experience, but you just need to make that first step and continue to make each step after that and make it happen.
All right. Well, now on to our listeners' favorite. I guess, some love it, some don't. It could get a little rough for you. Hopefully we don't, but we're definitely going to get you thinking here. So it's our favorite segment of the show.
Welcome to the round with no name because they're all taken.
So the rules for this round are pretty simple and easy. You get 5 seconds to initiate an answer. Just want you to think, think on your feet, get that blood flowing. Otherwise, my producer, Steve, they call him the leg breaker. He's lurking in the background. So let's get this thing out. Without further ado, what is your favorite book?
Favorite book would be The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. Also, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. 10X by Grant Cardone. I gave you 3, and they're all different.
I got to see what he says about that. But who has been or is currently your greatest mentor?
Has been Jack Canfield for sure, because he teaches you how to think differently and process your own thoughts and get out of your own mind and think outside the box. So I would say Jack Canfield for sure.
Solid choice. You're stranded on an island for the unforeseeable future. What is the one item you want with you?
The one item, can it be a person or does it have to be an item?
I knew you were going to go that route. I just felt it.
My wife. It would be my wife. My wife is my rock, dude. Like,
it's a solid choice.
I am who I am because of her, and there's no way. Like, if they were like, you had one thing to bring, I'd be like, it has to be my wife.
You know what? Surprisingly, you're only one of the few people that have said that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, man, she does so much for me. It's like
Mhm.
she moved to freaking LA because I'm like, hey, honey, I
Well,
have this ridiculous dream.
what if it was a thing, not a person?
If it was a thing, shit, I don't know, a bottle of tequila.
You better hope that's one big old bottle. We're talking like a blue, right? One of those like water plants. Yeah, got to be one of those, man. You're not going anywhere anytime soon. Is entrepreneurism a fad?
No, but I do think people are looking at it like it's sexy, like it's a sexy thing to do because now everybody's an entrepreneur.
Oh yeah.
But no, I don't think it's a fad. I think it's going to continue. And I think that people are going to realize over time that working for somebody else isn't going to be as fulfilling or gratifying as building something on their own, even if it's not to the magnitude of where they're working.
How do you drink your coffee?
Black.
You know what they say, right?
Say it.
Well, according to a post from a study from the Huffington Post, if you drink your coffee black, there's a good chance you have some psychotic tendencies.
Oh, that's great. Great. I'd agree with that. I'm not completely sane.
I think a lot of us entrepreneurs do drink black coffee, and that's kind of the theme I've gotten at least half the guests. So definitely onto something there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do it too because it's like a health thing. You know, they don't want to put a bunch of sugar in their coffee or whatever. I used to drink coffee with a bunch of cream or a bunch of sugar, and I went onto a meal plan, and now I just pretty much drink it black.
Yeah, now I was like that too, probably high school days, early college, and then once you get away from it, it's like, wow, coffee actually has a good flavor. You could actually appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah.
What is the one item, if there's one thing you carry on you every day or you consume it, eat or drink, you need it every single day because it makes you you?
One thing that makes me me, shoot, this is ridiculous. Man.
Good. We love ridiculous, man. Just throw it out.
It's just this is like the dumbest thing that I just thought. The one item that I carry on me all the time is chapstick.
Yes. 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 That is actually a Boss to Boss exclusive. Tommy Berretz, everybody. Chapstick. Remember that. Chapstick. It gets you from here to there. Chapstick. Boom.
That's true.
It's good, man. I mean, is there a specific brand that you would like to show off?
Man, I wish I don't have it on me, but yeah, there's actually an entrepreneur in Houston that makes this specific chapstick, and I can't remember the name. It's like Bumblebee. I don't want to mess it up, so I'm not going to say.
It's not Bert's, right?
No, it's
Bert's
like
Bees.
she only makes it for she doesn't make. It's not huge or anything. She actually mails it to me in LA.
It's only for entrepreneurs. I get it.
Yeah.
You got to be part of the club.
I can't divulge my secrets.
I get it. If you had unlimited amounts of money right now and you could start up any business, it can't be your own though, what would it be?
I think that the business I would start would be a production company.
Do you have a nickname? We're looking for a new nickname for my fellow over here, Mr. Doggy.
A nickname for your dog, Sparkles.
Sparkles. Actually, all right. That's going to be added to the list. We're going to do a poll once we get enough names, and we're going to see which one wins. Don't know the prize yet, but Sparkles. Sparkles. I love it. And how do you feel about sandals? Socks and sandals. That's like the new trend now. I've been doing it for a while.
And sandals.
I consider myself a trendsetter. I'm wearing some right now. How do you feel about them?
Socks and sandals can't do it. I can't do socks and sandals. I just can't. I can't.
Would you not take me seriously if I walked into a meeting with them?
Man, it'd be tough.
This coming from the guy that wears feathered shoes and whatever the what are they?
Exactly, dude. Here, let me show you something.
Let's see it. There they are. See, socks and sandals.
Could you take me seriously if I walked into a meeting with my Donald Duck shoes on?
That's what I'm saying. All right. Well, that settles that. No need to argue with that one. Whew. All right. We survived. My producer did not make it in here. He did not break in. You're good. Everybody, be sure to check out Tommy Berretz. You can just follow him on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Facebook.com/Project Punchline, or you can just go to the website, projectpunchline.com, where you can get all the links to go everywhere else and find out more about him and his team and all the good they're doing and all the giving back, the water bottles. They got videos posted of all the different scenarios, that kind of talking about just what it means to go to one of these comedy shows and, where the money's actually really going and who it's supporting, and these up and coming, comedians and artists as well. So Tommy Berretz, the mic is yours. If there's any final thoughts you have to say for the listeners, it's been a pleasure to have you on.
I really appreciate you having me on. The only thing I would say to the listeners is be true to your inner voice and chase your dreams.
That's it. Mic drop. It's been a pleasure to have you on. That was perfect, man. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate it, man.
That is all for this episode of Boss to Boss. Your next step is to visit bosstoboss.com, where you will find proven techniques followed by professionals to help you make that next step. Again, that is boss2boss.com. And remember, the time is now.